So welcome back, Nivedita. You are like one of our favorite guests from 2020. So it's absolutely an absolute pleasure to have you back. And I'm not going to bore people with by introducing you because everybody who's been following thee knows you. I mean, one word, people know who you are. But even then, for people who must be watching this for the first time, I would let you tell our audience what do you do and where are you from and a little bit about your journey.
So yeah, I am born and brought up in India, Mumbai, and right now currently living in Dubai, based in Dubai. My studio is based in Dubai. I travel and work. I'm an interdisciplinary artist. Art, basically, but particularly focusing on art that um, triggers social change. Um, so I have a degree in BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts from JJ School of Art, Mumbai, and that was, of course, 25 years ago. And recently, 4 years ago, I accomplished a master's in um, social sculpture and connective practice that basically stands for art that stimulates people towards social change. And yeah, it's been a wonderful journey so far. 20 years of practice, and yes, going strong thanks to all the love and acceptance and all the abundance that has been showered on me by the people, by the goddess who holds the entire intensity of my work. I'm a goddess Kali devotee, not just an artist um, by profession, but also a healer by practice as well. So there is a lot more that happens and gets channeled through my art, is what I like to believe. And um, as long as my work touches people's lives, I'm able to tell stories, I'm able to bring even a tad bit of transformation in this world through the ethos behind my work. I would i would feel that my work is done here. And so yes, I'm just after that. And
Yeah. I'm
hoping.
pretty sure it touches. So let me rewind back to the first time you were here, which was in 2020, and we were in lockdown, and there was this utter chaos. We were still feeling that chaotic energy. We still had that, and we were still trying to find our footing. And so since then, life has moved on. This is 2022. How has art, the space evolved for you in particular? Because I know you were traveling, for work as well. So how has it changed? And do you feel that there has been a change? I mean, what is your opinion on that?
uh Art, do you mean during the lockdown or after lockdown?
After lockdown, how has it changed? Because you spoke to us about what happened during the lockdown and how
Yes,
people were
yes.
feeling that energy.
Yeah.
So you said that there will be a change, which you could kind of anticipate and you could, see the
Uh,
change. So has that happened?
I think because of the pandemic and people, particularly artists, we, for us, it's all about going out there in public and being seen, being getting our work shown, and there is no other way to go about it. But there has been definitely there have been new avenues that have opened up, which have become, there was a lot of buzz around art going online, with this new platforms of NFTs or cryptos, that there's a whole new dimension to art, yeah, which has opened up, which wasn't there before at all pre-pandemic. And I mean, it's just starting out, and suddenly it's taken over, a major precedence. And for people who are like me, who are used to traveling and working and interacting with artists, very tactile kind of work, and especially in the areas of social change where we were restricted to travel, go and work at the grassroots levels with people. Uh, there has there is a different kind of sensibility in terms of approaching the spectrum of artistic domain. Uh, it is much more sensitive now. you know, especially for people like me who work in the area of social change. I'm used to going, in the interiors of villages or working with tribes. My connection with nature, mythology. I see that people who are not that privileged have been through a lot during the pandemic because they've not sold any work, they've had difficulty feeding their families. So there's a different kind of sensibility that works now. And now when I go and work in those places, um, there is much more humility. There is much more welcome. Before there would be a bit of resistance, in terms of, okay, who's this artist? She's come from outside and she's going to be researching with us, blah, 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 things like that. Not that people were not very accommodative or not very cooperative. People would cooperate. But now, after the pandemic, more and more people actually want to collaborate and they want to come forward. And it's like, they've lost a lot of time and they've not seen too many people. Even now, things are not that normal. People are still hesitating to travel and work with museums or galleries, and most of the events are happening online. So things are changing in terms of perception, perspective. Uh, uh, People are more open to seeing new people, working across borders. More there is much more cooperation that I feel that I'm getting from people, as an artist, and particularly for my practice. I'm getting a lot of support. I'm definitely getting a lot of support, and I'm sure. I recently visited the India Art Fair. Oh
Mm.
my goodness, the turnout! There were like tens of thousands of people there,
Mm.
in Delhi, and it's the biggest fair that happens.
Mm.
And for me, this was the first time attending
Mm.
a very very commercial sort of a art fair. Just
Okay.
I was checking out the markets and I was checking out the artists. What are the artists doing in the Indian diaspora, and
Mm.
what are the kinds of displays that are happening? So it was a whole gamut of things that were going on. There were talks, there were performances, there were collaborations, there were collectives, museums were showing. So many new museums have popped up which are promoting the dying art forms. There was a separate museum that was focusing on only Potachitros, from Bengal. And these were really old Potachitros, and the new artisans as well, who can barely probably speak in other than their native language. So there were museum gallerists, curators who were supporting these people. This is not a usual kind of a scene that you see in an art fair, where you see a lot of people coming forward and supporting the artisans to come out. And otherwise it would be, I've been to a lot of art fairs all around the world. It's quite commercial. You don't see this. There was a very earthy kind of a feeling. I felt very connected to what was happening. There were photographers. There was a whole pavilion on only celebrating Satyajit Ray's movies and
Mm.
his stories, his puppets, and there was a lot of exchange happening, which I
Yeah.
felt. People were wanting to talk about themselves, also not just talk about themselves, getting to know you. What is your practice about? So I felt this two-way communication happening every place I went. During the fair, outside the fair, there were parallel things that were happening, events, which were not limited to the fair. So every gallery was happening, having something or the other. um, it felt like a little miniature of a Venice Biennale, like the
Mm.
whole city had turned into an art capital,
Mm.
which
Mm.
was quite interesting to see, which would otherwise not happen. Post pandemic, everybody was very eager to share their views, their art, their creativity, whatever it is that they have to say.
Mm.
And for some reason there was not any expectation here. Everybody
Okay.
wanted to do their best.
Mm.
So I think that was a very huge takeaway for me,
So
from
would you say that it is the communities, like the sense of community, that is like quite strong now, even when
yes,
you visited the art fair, yeah, which
yes,
was
yes,
which was lacking, and
yes,
it
and
was pretty independent before.
not just static art, even the performance community, whether
Mm.
it's dance, drama, music,
Mm.
everything is scaled up.
Mm.
and also because of the social media,
Mm,
having become so big now.
mm.
Everybody's either, I was running into a TikTok sensation or a Instagram,
Yeah.
50K, 60K followers. And these are artists, yeah, and they are performers, they are
Yeah.
dancers. It's a guy in a skirt. And
Yes.
and also the communities, these new
Yes.
communities, people coming out from even the
Mm,
LGBT communities getting so much support. And in India,
mm.
it was quite eye opener for me, to see um, that the people were making an effort to go beyond boundaries and understand, gender and culture and different kinds of practices. There's been a huge transformation in terms of the whole overall picture, which was definitely not there pre-pandemic. So yes, it's a new era altogether, which I'm feeling everywhere. In all my travels, I was in Turkey, for a particular practice. In fact, the moment the pandemic started slowing down, I traveled to Turkey. I, worked with the dervishes, and it was a whole different experience altogether. But everybody, people have had enough, and they have.
Yeah.
It's like that this is it,
Mm,
and we mask up and we get on with what it is that we have to say.
mm.
And no pandemic is going to stop us from expressing ourselves, whether it's literature or any other domain of performing arts. So yes, it's been great.
It's quite a change. And how, so we spoke about feminine energy, and at that point it was like it's going to take a prominence, It's now you are a Makali Bhakt, and this connection with you, I call it a Makali connection, very blatantly. I just put it out like that. Yeah, and so how do you see that manifesting now with all these changes, and what do you think of it going forward in the years to come?
See, when it comes to feminine energy, I would say that we as human beings, we are exposed to the greatest form of feminine energy right from our birth, coming out of that womb, the mother. Okay? Nothing can be bigger than that. Our existence in this world, yeah, our very first step into this world is because of that feminine energy, our mother giving birth to us. So we have immediately tapped onto that at that point. Whether it's a man or a woman, we are in that energy. Yeah. And for us now, moving forward would be just to keep carrying on, hold on to that energy, hold on to that compassion, hold on to uh, that cocoon, and that itself will protect us. That itself is a very big shield. It protected us in the womb for 9 months. It will protect us in this big, we are into a bigger womb. This world is a bigger womb, I would
Yeah.
say, and there is this, it's the same amount of energy that is running through all of us.
Mm.
And because all of us are created by this, the creatrix. So I feel that it's just about our perception. We just need to tap into that. Anytime we want, it's always there with us.
Mm.
We need to call upon it. It's inside us. It runs through us.
Mm.
And nothing can, any kind of creation, whether it is writing a book or cooking a meal, or any creation has that, that energy,
Yes.
which is, I'm not saying just the feminine energy. The men are equally feminine,
Yes. Yes.
in terms of
Mm.
their, um, portion of energy that they have in their body.
Mm.
We are half woman. We
Half
are all
women, half men. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
half. Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's
Mm.
80
Oh,
90,
we have
sometimes.
both. Yeah. We have
Yeah,
both. Yeah.
sometimes we can't really put a finger on it. We can't really tell the ratio, but all of us have that energy in us. We decide what makes us effeminate, or what makes us more male, or how is it that we would
Which
like.
energy we identify with. I
Yes,
think it kind
which
of depends
energy we
on, yeah.
identify with.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
because even Shiva identifies completely with
Yes.
The goddess.
The goddess, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, because it's not
Yes.
always that you're going to identify with the feminine energy, even if you're in a female body. You might
Absolutely.
identify with
Absolutely.
the,
When
male
Shiva or
energy.
Krishna,
Yeah.
when you say Krishna, you say Hare Krishna, you say Radha first, and then you say Krishna.
Yes.
The
Yes.
universe is,
It
kept that order.
honors that. Yeah, it honors that. And it
Also
has kept
Shri.
that
Shri
order.
is,
Mm,
yeah, Shri is
mm,
the goddess.
mm,
Whenever you say Shri,
mm.
Shri, Shri,
Ganesha or
Shri
Shri. Yeah,
Ganesha or
yeah. Mm,
Shri, or somebody's a Shri
mm,
Yadav, Shri
mm,
Mukesh,
mm,
Mukesh Jha, whatever,
mm,
XYZ name. We say the Shri before. Why
mm.
do why do we say Shri? Shri is actually supposed to be Mr. and Shri Mati is a woman. But
Yes.
actually, if you see Shri itself is, a feminine
Yeah.
energy there. So
Mm.
even if we want it or we don't want it,
It's there.
subconsciously it's there everywhere in
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So we just need to notice it, experience it. And it's
Yes.
completely up to us. And way forward would be to keep tapping on that very powerful creative energy, which is
Yeah.
encompassing this whole universe. And we just know that it's there for us,
Yes.
always there. We
Yes.
just need to call upon it and experience that.
So now you said something very interesting, tapping into it, which is where most people lack, and it all gets very messy because to start with, people don't know what to tap into and how to do it. Now, in your work, you are an artist, but you also work as a healer. And so, what kind of tips, or where do you, if somebody would come to you and say, I don't know how to tap into it, I really want to, and how would you guide them through this process?
In my case, I can speak for myself. I am very visual. And like I said, in terms of, any creative action, any kind of creation uh, is birthing. The moment you say birth, giving birth to something itself is, it gets connected to the feminine aspect of giving birth. So any kind of creation can be, uh, we just need to, say for example, if somebody wants to paint, it's very very important that you bring it upon you, that, and of course with the sincerity, humility, these are the aspects, I would feel, um, which also run parallelly in any process of creation. So being humble, about getting to know something, getting to learn something. So when people say, I need to tap into the feminine energy, there are many ways. What is the kind of energy that you want to tap into? Whether it is through creation, whether it is through meditation, whether it is through singing, people channel this energy through many many different dimensions. Some people do it through working the soil. I have a lot of friends who are, polymaths, and they are into agricultural work. But when they plant a seed, there is a process in which they visualize the seed becoming a tree. There is something very poetic about it. There's something magical about it. So every time my friend puts a seed into the soil, he visualizes that this is going to turn out to be this beautiful blossoming tree. This is the process of creation. It's a process of giving birth to something which is, we cannot control how the tree is going to look like, but we can control the birth. I'm not control, I would say we can pray for the birth. Yeah, birth of that seed. So everybody has a different process of looking at things. Whether it's a musician or a singer, can tap into the energy through, you know chanting Ma's names. I do it through my art. For me, my work is about, I have a lot to say to the women in the world. uh, Also, it has been my way of fighting my own personal conflicts, whether it is through childhood, or as a young adult, or as a married woman, or as a working woman in the society. What is it that I have encountered, the kind of negativity that I have encountered in my life, I wanted to turn that into something positive, into a voice, into a voice that would, you know, find more people, like minded people, to come and join the discourse. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about it at large. Let's make group discussions. Let's gather around and let us support each other. A kind of sisterhood or solidarity, that can be formed, a bond that can be created. So for me, my working methodology has been channeling through sculpting, through painting. I have found her through that, helping me to silence all that noise in my head. So every person needs to go within. It's very, very important to first silence the noise and find out what it is that what we need to channel. How strong, because sometimes the energy is really strong. If you're really a seeker, the energy can be very strong. It can also be chaotic. It can take you other way around. You can just go opposite direction. Instead of creating something, you may end up destroying, which is also, destruction is also the nature of the goddess, right? So it's totally, it can go the right way. It can also go the wrong way. Also, sometimes it becomes very important. If we are not able to do it, there are mentors that can help us. There are people who are teachers. We could look up to someone who could help us look within and help us channel that energy through whatever it is, the form that we want to give it to. If it's through swimming, if it's through sailing, if it's through watering the plants, or whether it is growing green, or doing something sustainable and giving back to the planet, or art. It totally depends. Everybody has teachers. I've had a lot of gurus in my life, who've come and gone. People have not stayed consistently in my life because I also kept evolving into new paths, into new directions. And when you're a seeker, you're just moving. You're constantly moving for more. It's never
And
enough.
also, like, you can have like a community, right? Like a supportive community
Absolutely,
to start
absolutely.
with, and then everything becomes, and
Mentors come in.
everyone becomes your teacher. Also, it's
Like
very
groups
common.
of
Like when
people,
you
yeah.
really seek, when you really seek, you will get the teacher
Yes,
anyway.
it comes to you. It's so
Yeah.
important, first of all, to have that humility that I'm a
Yes.
seeker. I
Yes.
know nothing.
Mm.
I am nobody.
Mm.
Can I be somebody? Is there an identity inside me that needs to surface? And what
Mm.
is that identity? How do I get it? These questions are what are, the trajectories.
And the trigger questions
Build
which are
that
going to,
trajectory. It's
yeah.
very, very important that we build, I don't know if I'm making sense, but we build
No,
a
you
kind of a
are.
trajectory for our path,
Mm.
a kind of a vision board which we are looking at. This is where I need to go.
Mm.
And at this time, I need to be here. And if we kind of even start with that, with one question, for me, questions are the most important things in my life. The moment I'm questioning something, I'm moving forward.
Yeah. Well,
Otherwise,
that's a good way. No, that's true. That's a good way of
that's
looking at it.
yeah,
Yeah. That's a
that's
proper way of, because if you don't question, if you're really okay with where you are, what is happening, you're stagnating, right? You're not moving
absolutely,
anywhere. So you
absolutely.
always need to question. So that is quite encouraging. And would you say that now when people, like when we speak, like you beautifully touched upon this destructive path also. So now when we look at art, you know we have different kinds of art. Some art forms really trigger those negative emotions, and they are used as a weapon, against humanity and against societies, against communities. And then there are the kind of art that you do, which challenges your own limiting beliefs. They urge you to go inside, they urge you to look within, have those deeper questions and gain a deeper understanding of who you are, why you're here. So, as an artist, what is your take on the art that is kind of destructive in nature, and why do you think that is done?
art is subjective. Let me begin with that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what may be destructive for you may not be destructive for me. It could be, uplifting for
Mm.
me, because I'm a collector of, hypothetically speaking, that maybe I'm a collector of violent images, or maybe there are people, to whom violence stimulates, or they like the action, or they feel certain kind of pressure, or they have histories in their life. So they collect art that is, I wouldn't say destructive, I would say art that disturbs,
Yeah, disturbing. Yeah, that's a
or
better
either
word for not
disturbs, or
destructive.
it
Yeah.
makes you wonder, or it makes you
Mm.
think. you
Mm.
know like I have a friend who's an artist, and he's an extremely talented artist. He lives in Berlin, and is a German artist. He takes pictures of, war pictures. He's on the border front, and very, very sensitive, very strong pictures. I mean, I remember one photograph of his, which which just made me go,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
myself have a lot of dark imagery in my work.
Mm.
And see, we are artists. It's not something that we can control.
Mm.
uh, it's the feeling that we feel within, which is transported onto the canvas, or the cam, or through the lens, or any artistic form that we are pursuing. I remember the image of that photograph, which had a gauze on the mouth, and through the gauze the blood was seen, because the person's mouth was broken, and he had a black eye, and this guy was an injured soldier. Just the portrait, and it was huge. It was a mammoth, like 20 feet huge photograph. You cannot miss it when you enter the space of the exhibition, and that is all you see the moment you enter. And it's such a difficult space, to hold, when you see something like that, and you just go, ugh. And but then it also, art also has should have the capacity to show the truth, to shock. It cannot just be pretty, or beautiful, or sensual. you know we are not we are human beings. We carry all kinds of senses, all kinds of emotions within us. And so art has that capacity to to evoke a certain emotion within us. That particular piece had the capacity to make us confront the reality that's happening at the borders, telling us that we can't turn a blind eye at what's happening at the borders, or right now, currently in Ukraine. Yeah, it's basically bringing you the information. The artist is bringing you the live information from there, and is showing you that this is what is happening. It can be, it is possible to reach that, to a place, in a corner of a world which is yet not sensitive about this issue. They are probably celebrating something. I'm not saying that they should not, but it's also, artists choose which is the area that they need to focus on. If they are choosing an area of journalism, where they are not going to shy away from showing a person getting a bullet, or a dead body, or a beheaded person, they are bringing you reality. Three girls suspended from a tree, just because they were requesting for 24 rupees instead of 20 rupees. They were raped for days, and they were hung from a tree. This story needs to go out. People need to know the kind of inhumanity that still exists in the world. If a picture is taken at that point, or if a documentary is created around it, a piece of work which is called art is done, and it reaches thousands of people, such kind of atrocities can be stopped. So art has the power to also create a kind of a revolution. So we cannot say that it's disturbing, or it is wrong, or it's dark. It is reality. Whether it is a schizophrenic artist, like Francis Bacon, who is showing images of destruction in the painting, but then that is his mind. He's trying to tap into that emotion of a person who's going through that situation in his life, where he's bipolar, and he's fighting every day, the daily
The
grind of life.
demons, yeah, the demons of your
Demon.
own, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So something which is beautiful
Mm,
also has the capacity to shock.
mm,
And I personally, as an artist, believe that art is not just for one thing. Today,
mm.
it is more of a voice.
Yes.
It's more of a voice. It should have the capacity to stimulate, to trigger. How will then things change in the world?
Mm,
How do we
mm,
expect?
mm,
What we would physically do with our hands is a tactile medium, is now done through camera, through different platform, through digital imagery, and animation. People are doing everything in their capacity
mm.
to try and see if the people in the world will respond. There
Yeah,
is this
yeah, yeah.
urgency, there's this
There's an
urgency.
urgency, yeah.
There's
That
an
is what I
urgency.
was coming to. This urgency that we have, and art actually tells you the human story. You know, you look at any era, it's the art that basically talks about what was. I mean,
Documented.
yeah, the documents it, right? So the era that we are in, and we have seen amazing amount of changes, like big, massive shifts. So the art now and the art looking into say 5 years down the line, that's going to completely change because looking at history, it's changed drastically. So what kind of a story is this kind of holding up together, like it's putting out together?
Well, art is definitely becoming a very vocal medium, very, very vocal medium. A lot of it has moved from painting, drawing, printmaking, those tactile mediums to, the fine art school, to digital lot, and which has made it possible for almost anybody can be an artist if they have something to say today. Even words are art, which is beautiful. I'll tell you, I went to this beautiful exhibit at the MoMA, and there was a retrospective of this artist who is also an art historian. So he lived in Africa and he worked with the tribes and he researched on the first scripts of the tribes and the first drawings, which go back thousands of years back. And he researched on them. He painted over 10,000 drawings, like they look like hieroglyphics, those Egyptian drawings. And they were all on display. And they were just color pencils, like a child does, very neat color pencil drawings. And he digitized the alphabets. When you say A for apple, B for ball, in that language, in African language, the tribal language which was lost, and he's brought back that language.
Brought back,
And
imagine
so when
imagine
you
the
go
amount of
to
work, yeah.
so when you go to the museum, you have a computer you're looking at, and
Yeah,
there are about 8-10 stations there.
yeah.
You go and press on the A, the B, the C. There is a voice, which is an ethnic voice, which will sound that for you. It's a thesaurus, and it will also word that for you. And it'll also give you the English translation and the meaning. He
Imagine,
has
like,
done he has
yes,
transcribed the entire thing, and this is an artist.
yes.
He was 3 years MoMA. He was on a MoMA grant, and 3 years he researched as a scholar, and he worked at the archaeological site with the people where he picked out, those. He worked with the slabs where the writings were written. So authenticated, researched, in-depth documented work. It's his life's work, which is in MoMA forever. And that is the level at which an artist, shows the passion, is bringing back an ancient native language,
Mm.
to the forefront and making it available for the world. I mean, anybody who goes to MoMA will have that access. It's a 2,000 square feet space, which is only this, which is showing the costumes of the tribes, which is showing all the, the letterings. There are books available if you want to go deep into it. It's introducing, he's taken pictures. He has done 3D models, installations of the site. which shows how you enter into the archaeological architecture, and how the excavation was done. He was there from the day one the excavation was being done, and this was an artist. So there is no particular boundary, there is no particular set discipline which we need. That's why I always tell people that I'm interdisciplinary. Half the people don't get it, especially in India.
Yeah.
Especially in India. What is interdisciplinary?
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that I don't limit myself to any discipline. Tomorrow, if I
Yes.
want to, I need to, work the soil, or if I need to, do some carpentry work or anything that my work demands, I'm willing to do it as long as my voice gets out there, as long as I'm able to make that difference.
Yeah. No, but you are, I mean, through your work, you are making a difference. And that brings me to this series that you've done on a body, which was pretty much on, like Sparsh. I think that's what you
Yeah.
called it. And
Yeah.
it was beautiful. It was absolutely, something that is not even, when you did it, not bad, but it is like something very relevant. And it's going to become more and more relevant as as the years go by. Could you tell us a bit about your idea behind doing that? Like, what were the limiting beliefs that you were challenging when you got into doing Sparsh?
Okay. So when I was a child, of course, I was always told, by my parents or teachers or elders, uh, not to touch yourself, not to, look at men in a certain way, or not to dress up in a certain way, or not to expose certain parts of your body, because people might, men or boys might look at you and, make passes or advances, and it's an unsafe world, things like that. And that it's also, you know, you have to keep it under covers if you're feeling certain feelings. I mean, it's hormones, right? You're growing up. I am bound to have feelings. I am bound to, and if I don't have a boyfriend, or if I don't have a, partner or a fiance, I should not, express myself or even have those thoughts coming. Pray at that time, read the Bible, read the Gita, distract yourself, get immersed in work, do something, which will motivate you towards your studies. And the more people would tell me that, the more it would, make me do things which were against. Why is everybody against it? When it's a feeling that's uplifting, when it's a feeling which makes me feel good about myself, wearing a certain outfit is making me feel good. Why it's if someone else is looking at my cleavage, or looking at my legs, or looking at my hands, it's his problem, it's her problem, it's their conditioning in their head. I'm not doing it with the objective of exposing myself, or it's making me feel good, I'm wearing it. I'm doing what I feel is within my limitation, and I'm doing it because it's making me feel good. Not in a way which is, even I was aware that I'm not doing it in a way which is, if I'm wearing a jeans and going out, I do not have to think how tight my jeans is or my buttocks are showing. My mother would say, put your shirt out. My father would say, how are you allowing her to go out in pants? The jeans is really tight. And why is she always on jeans? Hello, it's comfortable. So I grew up listening to all this. And also at the same time, touching myself, or, if I'm wanting to, vent, my feelings. I was always under the radar. What are you doing? Why is your door closed? Why is it locked? Why are you in the bathroom for so long? Things like these. Give the person that space to grow, to evolve, to flower, to understand. It's all a part of growing up. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's all
There's
an
nothing.
experience, which is
It's
what
an
we are here
experience.
for.
It's
Yeah.
it's 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 a beautiful experience,
Mm.
and one should not be, stopped from uh, pleasuring themselves. It is our birthright, and especially as women, men don't think twice. I do not want to make it a man woman thing, but unfortunately, in the society, it is.
Yes, it is. It is, yeah.
It
It's
is.
a lot of, it
It's
is,
a
there
very
is a stigma
patriarchal
attached.
lens,
Yeah, 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 yeah. It is
attached to that.
attached to. Mm,
Yeah, the men can, the women can't.
mm.
Why? There is no
Nobody
answer.
knows.
But what do our Shastras tell us? I was at the Konark temples, I was at the Kamakshi temples. It's a pleasure
It's
galore,
more exactly,
all
yeah,
in the open. And
yeah.
we know that in that society, when we go back to the past, in that society, artists created what they visually saw. There was no cameras, no photography, there was no imagination, did play a big role, but definitely those things were not imagined. People posed for hours for the artisans to come back and sculpt them. So imagine the amount of exposure they had to all that open society, where people did not think twice about pleasuring who they were pleasuring, or even if it was themselves. So basically it was about pleasure being our birthright. And as a grown up as well, even today, i I live with my in-laws. I live with a home full of people. I have a lot of helpers in the house, who are walking in and out, and of course, my husband or my daughter or family. It's a busy house. I would never say that a woman should stop doing anything that she wants to do. If there are moments, so I do face situations where I'm asked, why is it lying around? Well, it's my bedroom. It's my private space. Things can be lying around. So if I feel like doing something, it is my birthright. It is my, it's my personal desire.
And it is also it's a very empowering thought there, because it's pretty much like all these restrictions that are put onto,
Yes,
and they
absolutely.
kind of cage you, so you grow up not to know, your own self, leave alone knowing somebody
Absolutely.
else.
Absolutely.
um
Absolutely. I've
and it
had,
is quite
as a
mm,
mother, I've had to answer a lot of questions to my daughter as well.
mm,
I have seen her growing, and I did not want to, limit her growing up. I never wanted her to go through anything that I personally have felt as a daughter to my mother. Giving her that space to bloom, to be free, to have that space to speak her mind or feel good about herself, whether it is an outfit she's wearing, or whether it is any particular feeling that she wants to exercise. That freedom is everything. If we are free in our head, then we will be able to project ourselves in that particular way to the world. Otherwise, if we are restricted in our head, it will be a very restricted,
caged.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're going to give out
yeah,
that restrictive caged
that
image
vibe
everywhere you
itself will
go.
be like that.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Right from our speech to our smile to our
Mm,
vision, everything
mm.
is going to be restricted. We will see it through a very tiny lens instead of seeing it through a broad
Yes, yes,
lens,
yeah,
which I think is very depressing. And I really pity people
yeah.
who see, when we say, she has such a narrow mind or a narrow vision of seeing things. She's so closed, or he's
Mm,
so closed. When we say that,
mm.
what do we mean by that? That the person is restricting themselves from evolving and accepting things which are natural,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and stopping it from
Mm.
flowing
From
out.
flowing. So you basically are your own barrier in your own flow and flow of
Absolutely. And I
abundance.
think creativity, especially for
Yeah,
people who are
exactly.
creative,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
if
That
you really go
stops.
back and see the lives of the creative people, you see the kind of life they live, because nothing comes at the cost of creativity. Live it free. If you're not free inside here and here,
You won't be able to create.
your
I think even
expression
to
will be restricted
yeah.
completely.
And I think that is what comes out in most art forms also, even if it's a motion picture or a film, and even
Yes,
there
yes,
you
yes,
see
yes.
you see you can see the deterioration, you can see that this is not quite
Absolutely.
there, and you
Absolutely.
understand and you understand the maker's
Freedom is
perspective,
the
and you're
key.
like, yeah, and you see that there is no freedom, the narrative is quite restricted, and you see it, and it's something that you think, well, maybe you should be because again, like you rightly said, if you're not free, you cannot even, express it in that way. So you're like restricting all the movements, restricting the energy, basically. So how are you going to
Absolutely,
create?
absolutely,
So that
absolutely.
was a very beautiful and a very brave, thing for you to put out there, and I loved it personally. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So that was a very encouraging.
I could
I
do
wa-
it, yeah, because I'm also perimenopausal. So yeah, feelings are super, super heightened. You never know when.
I heard that from in one of my yoga class, and they were just having this discussion, and I heard somebody say, like, once you cross 50, you just stop caring about everybody.
Absolutely. I'm totally on board with that. I'm unapologetic. Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is beautiful, because that's when you do your best work,
Oh,
and
yes,
it
yes,
just
yes.
shines through. So
Absolutely.
another thing that comes out in your work very, very strongly, which we touched upon last time that you were here, is this divine blessing of Makali. And and you have this in a very intimate relationship with Makali. Now, there is a there are different aspects of Makali also. There is the one that everybody knows, the destructive, the anger, and but then it is a it's a mother. So there is always this nurturing, beautiful, earthy, side to Ma
Yes.
as well. So if I were to ask you, now this might be a tough one, but if I were to ask you, how would you judge Ma's energy in the world out there today?
First of all, I'm no one to judge her energy. I'm
Just
not.
give an opinion. Just let me use the
Um,
wrong word. Just an
but if
opinion as to
I,
what energy do you feel now? Because
um,
at one point you did mention that it was quite strong, and it was quite like, what was happening around the world. It was very strong, very destructive. And that was kind of and the heights and the peak. So what is the energy right now?
for me, if you ask me from perception of my work, I recently finished a series which I am literally afraid to take it out right now into the open, which I see her. I have clearly seen her in my visions as a skull faced goddess. Her face is the skull, and she's a bridesmaid.
Wow.
So she has
Wow.
a veil and she is dancing and she's on a stampede.
My God.
She is on a spree. She is dancing. She's on a stampede. She's and she's um, celebrating death. Now, this vision could I could also I did do the sketches and the drawings,
Hmm.
and I decided to shelf it because I wasn't ready to feel the intensity of that work at that time when I finished it a couple of months ago. And I still want to understand, what is she here to give death to? Because in my life, in my work, she has appeared to give death to my demons, my issues in my life, my conflicts. She has appeared to give death to the pain and the misery and empower me and take me to the next level every time.
Hmm.
So when she comes, she not just comes as a nurturer, but this particular vision that I had, she is death herself. She doesn't have
Wow.
that space anymore.
Hmm.
She is the skull, and the rest of the body is the way it is. So I did a set of maybe 150 drawings, and I couldn't stop. I was in a trance and I was just sketching them out. This is how things happen in my world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that is what I was tapping into. Like, what is it?
So
Because
however, I also
yeah.
feel that I am still processing that image, but I would say that it is the face of Kali Yuga, and she is definitely out there on a stampede. But this stampede is a kind of cleansing.
Mm,
She
mm,
is she is giving death to demons of the society, perhaps.
Or to things that are no longer serving us,
They are not no longer relevant,
no longer.
like the queer community is getting the power,
Yeah.
the LGBT community is getting recognized,
Mm.
the gender choices fiercely coming up, and the young generation, the youth, she is giving power to them by destroying
The structures around them that we grew up
the
with. Yeah.
structures, the boundaries. She's the walls are falling. I would like to translate that image that way. And possibly there is war as well, but it's also to whatever that she's doing out there in the world today, she is teaching us something, whether it is through pandemic. She's teaching us this humanity. She's teaching us and asking us to protect and preserve what she created and not allow. And she probably depends also in the future, which is the youth of tomorrow, on how we, not just me as an artist or anybody, what are we contributing? Whatever destruction, whatever is creating this destruction that we are contributing, we need to stop. We need to stop that, or the repercussions are
massive and huge. Yeah.
There will be a massacre. This is not something new that she's telling.
No.
But probably at a much larger spectrum, much larger. Things have heightened. Look at the pandemic. Millions and millions of people have died. Yeah. So this is not going to stop. After the pandemic, there'll be something else.
There's always a constant. Yeah. A constant run of things.
She's out there cleansing. She's teaching us something. She's asking us to, requesting literally that, you know what, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it.
That's
quite do it my way. You have it my way or do it your way.
Yeah.
So this is something that I get from that vision. And I did want to work on that, but I stopped them to the drawings. I didn't want them to materialize as paintings. I instead created the series called Hala Hala, which is blue. Blue is what the society is doing to us. So all the women in the work, all the expressions are blue in color, which I talk about the poison in the society.
Yeah.
So that particular work followed Hala Hala. And that's how I worked with the, understanding of Shakti, having the capacity to control that poison. And that is what she's doing. She's consuming it. A lot of my work in blue also shows her in armor and girdles, around her hips, around her vagina, around her breasts. Also taking inspiration from the ancient form of Thayyam, which is the body armor of the women warriors. So a lot is focused on that, on how she is battling. We cannot see her, but it's an energy. She's an energy force.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's just convenient for me to probably put a form, because if you see blue, it doesn't have any, it's just blue. It's just flowing.
Yeah, and also you'll interpret it the way you understand, you resonate with the color blue, on that day, when you're looking at it. So I think that is also like...
Neela. Neela is the poison, the Neelkant.
Neelkant,
controls the poison for Shiva. Shiva, who is again the destroyer.
Exactly, yeah.
So again, she is definitely present. She's omnipresent.
Exactly, yeah.
She is pointing us. She is nudging us. She is teaching us every single day to watch our karma, to watch our, belief systems, to watch what it is that we are, contributing.
Yeah, I think it's a time when everybody is urged to look within.
Yeah.
which is how we started this whole series. It's like you have to
Introspection
look
is
within.
biggest.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
key. It's
Introspection.
not about what somebody else, because your outer world is a reflection of what you are on the inside.
Yes.
If your inside is
Absolutely.
all messed up, your outer world is going to be
We
all
we
messed
can
up as
project that. Yeah. So we better watch the
watch
inside, because that's
ourselves.
what we are
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to project into the world in terms of
Yeah, and once you understand that dynamics, I think the responsibility on each and every individual increases many folds, because
absolutely.
then you're like, okay, and we hear it when we are on a flight, wear your own masks before helping others. And I don't know why we just forget when we get into life, we want to be out there
True,
without
true.
our own masks. But that's beautiful to hear. So it's quite nice to check the energy with you, because that is how it looks like. That is like we are in the grace period to kind of align ourselves, and if you don't,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you've had it. So we've kind of nearly come to an hour, and I wanted to ask you about the roles and responsibilities of an artist in this Kali Yoga, because it is not the other yogas like the Satya Yoga, where you kind of put something out and everybody's on that level of consciousness to just get it. These days, interpretations have like 10 million, colors added to it. So you might want to say something and then it gets into a different zone, and you get there's a tug of war happening all the
True,
time, then
true, true.
polarities you can see. So
Yeah.
what do you think are the roles and responsibilities of an artist, as an artist yourself?
See, I can speak for myself again here. I cannot speak for others, because yeah, you know
Sure.
why.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So as for myself, I feel like I told you that as long as my art is making people stop and think about the subjects that I'm talking about, and it's creating this um, a small little space, as long as it's becoming an intervention, as long as it is opening up a space for dialogue, my work is done. For me, most important, art is probably a medium for me. It's just a reference, point of reference. What is most important for me is the dialogue that comes after that. Why why am I doing what I'm doing, and what is the larger picture behind that? For me, it I feel at this point in my life, I'm very fortunate, I feel very blessed that it is a voice. It's not something that is static. It's much more than that. It's a it's an arena that's opening up a space for, and including people, asking them to come in and let's talk about it. Let's talk. Let us see what good can come out of all this. Maybe we can stop something. Maybe we can start something positive, to throw a spotlight on issues that have been curbed, on simple things like sparsh, which have not been touched upon. Or if we are talking about choices in our life, simple things like, wanting to choose a particular kind of life for us. What does it entail? Is a woman able to do that? If we say we are in the 21st century, but girls are still being hung from the tree,
Still being hung from
or
the
they are being
tree,
burned.
still, yes, burned alive, still being called witches, still being
Yes.
labeled. So it's all happening.
So, when is it enough? Opening up that space to talk about it. We never know who might come into that space and make a difference. Having more and more collectives,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be only artists.
No, no, it can be like multidisciplinary, like and
Because yeah,
interdisciplinary. Yeah,
yes, because according to Joseph Beuys, everyone is an artist. Even a
yeah,
homemaker is an artist.
yeah,
Everything entails creativity.
yeah.
Right from getting up in the morning and making that perfect cup of tea, that gets
Mm,
your day started, or a coffee,
mm,
everything takes creativity. Not
mm.
everybody can do it perfectly. Not
No,
everybody can do it, correctly.
yeah.
right from that helper, who comes home, the perfect domestic help who comes and makes your bed, or gives you that cup of tea, or makes you the dal chawal, which gives you the taste of home when you're at work. Everything, this gratitude, it all comes into that space.
Yeah.
We never know whom we might extend,
That
open up.
space too. Yeah, an open. It also about holding the space. Yeah, I feel like artists like you are, I think your responsibility more, like if I could speak for what I have seen through your art forms, are more like holding the space, because that is how your collaboration with us happened, like with he happened. It was like holding that space, and it's beautiful because the energy that keeps and that comes and that flows through, that just opens up a very safe and sacred space for everybody. And that is, I think, that safety, that assurance, that knowledge that you have the community
Safe
to
space
fall
to
back on.
transform.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
safe, unconditional, non-judgmental space to transform
Non-judgmental. Yeah. Yeah.
and open up a discourse to. Also, this is one of the things that I've been working on. I'm authoring a book, and it's shortly going to come out in a few months, which is called The Lost Goddess. And this is about, awakening the goddess within us. And that kind of opens up a space for,
Opens up. Yeah. Yeah.
you
That would be
know,
amazing. So after your book is released, you're coming back. I'm booking you right now.
I will send you the prototype so you can have a
I
look
love.
and give me your inputs,
Yeah.
and maybe
Thank you. I'm
put in a few
looking
lines
forward
in
to
there
it. I'm
before
going
it
to a
goes
book
out.
launch. This is amazing that you said this. I'm going to have invited to a book launch next week, and that is on consciousness. And so it's like it's all like these things are coming up now, which is like,
Maybe I
and I'm
should do it
loving
through
it.
thee. I should do it through thee. You should co-curate it.
I'm loving it. I'm loving this space. Like consciousness is coming up. The Vedas are coming up, and your book on goddess is coming up. I'm like, wow, this is it. It's all coming together in the finest of ways. But that's beautiful. It's so. When are you going to work? What are you going to work back on the series that you stopped, or are you going to like go forward and collect more information and then launch
I
it?
am collecting more information. Also, there is a very interesting body of work which is coming up, which is on sirens,
Okay.
and how we are sirens, how we are witches, how we are witches. So,
That is what my interest, because that's like for years in yoga I go to this yoga, and we kind of have like, okay, you remember your grandmothers, their grandmothers, all called labeled witches at some point in time. You need to get rid of that
absolutely.
energy. And the beauty is you don't realize how this consciousness is passed on from generations and generations, and it gets tapped into, or into your body in one way or the other, and you're not functioning because of something you don't know why, because you have these labels to carry. So that's something to look forward to. So when is this releasing?
The book is definite. The book or
The book. The book
the
and
book
the work.
The book will take 2-3 more months,
Okay.
because now that you are here, it has to go through you as well
It has
before.
to go through me as well. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm right here.
I would love to get your inputs before it goes out. So
Okay.
I'm doing a self publishing. I'm going to go through a self publishing process initially, because I intend to, because it's not just a book; it's more like a workbook. So I will be doing workshops around that, traveling, working with women from all walks of life who will try. It's not just a book, it's a process. There's a process to it, so which kind of helps you answer your longings, and you enter the book with a question, and then you work with the
Maybe we could do
archetypes.
a, maybe this was just an idea that came up. Maybe we could do an online Zoom workshop since we are in different locations, once
That
your
would
book
be
is out.
wonderful. That would be wonderful.
We could get people to kind of come together and do a workshop on your book. And
Absolutely,
it would be
absolutely,
amazing.
absolutely,
I'll
absolutely.
put that in my diary.
Definitely, I will take you up on that. I can probably share.
Oh
That's
my
the
God, that's amazing.
so.
Beautiful.
So this
Beautiful.
has about 30 goddesses, 30 archetypes that will help
Archetypes.
us work with our energy. And yeah, there it comes with a workbook, a chart, that
Mm,
helps women step into their power. So
mm.
yeah.
Need of the hour. You're right on time for this. This is what we all need. So that's perfect. And when is this other piece of work coming out? The one on the
Very soon,
witches.
very soon.
Yeah.
It's the body of work is called Urges,
Okay.
and so it does address a lot of taboo areas, and yes, like I said, art is subjective. A lot of people might find it
Disturbing. My favorite
yeah.
word.
Because there are witches, there are
Yeah.
sirens.
Yeah.
So but yes, this is who we are, and
Yeah.
we own it.
We own
So
it. No, we got to own it because I think that energy is also required,
it's
that
very important.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
very
very, very
important.
important, also to be able to tap that energy and to
Mm,
be able to say no.
mm.
I disagree.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Very important. So, well, Nivedita, we have nearly come to an end of an hour, and thank you, as always, for being an amazing guest. We love you here, and you're more than welcome.
pleasure is all mine, Tapashri. I love thee.
Oh, thank you
Thank you
so
very
much. We love you. So we now it's like the book and this other thing. We are super busy with you. So like everybody's going to be super excited.
much.
So thank you.
Wonderful.
And any last
Pleasure.
thoughts before we close?
Well, last thought would be definitely we did the last talk, like I told you. So a lot happened for me after that particular interview, which has almost been very magical for me. Kind of manifestations,
Mm,
and I remember I spoke my mind, and I try to be as honest as I can, and definitely there has been a change in the person. So now that we've had this interaction, um, I like to think that I have probably evolved as well, and I have
yes.
entered this arena with a new set of questions today,
Mm,
and of course your questions have helped me answer things that were within me. So
mm.
when I'm opening it out into the world, I am leaving those manifestations out, and probably most of those things, I'm hoping with a prayer that they get picked up.
They
And
will. They always do. Like I said, there's something about the energy, and I can't pinpoint, but it works.
things get picked up, people become more sensitive, people are able to relate to everything that is happening in this world, um, and try and be more conscious of their contributions in the world, in terms of their words, in terms of their deeds, in terms of anything that they wish to leave behind. uh, have that consciousness of what it's going to do to the coming generations, which might include your children as well, and your grandchildren. So everything counts right now, and we've learned that lesson.
In a hard
Everything.
way, but I think there's few more chapters to go before
Yeah.
the book is closed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're on our way. We'll survive this.
I take really good things from this our interaction today, and a
Uh,
lot of new learnings as well for me, which I wasn't aware that I probably had within me, those words within me. So thank you for giving me that platform to let them out.
Thank you. As always, it's always a pleasure. And you're one of I've said this I think a number of times. I'm going to bore everybody by saying that you're a favorite guest, but you are anyway. So we look
Thank
forward to
you.
welcoming you back and look forward to sharing this space again with you. So thank you
And
so
I'll send
much.
you the copy of the book.
Yes, please do. Yeah, I would look forward to that as well. So thank you so
Take
much,
care.
Nivedita.
Take